What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Reality. I'm your host, Cole, and today's podcast is going to be all about remaining a kid at heart. Now, this podcast came about because it was just recently Halloween and I was handing out candy, and it wasn't just the toddlers and babies dressed up in costume. In fact, I saw a lot of teenagers, people my age, mid-20s, and even some grown adults dressed up. Then I started thinking, I was like, why is this such a shocker to me? The more and more I realized that growing up should not mean you have to give up the things that make you happy. I feel like adulthood and definitely early adulthood should be just as fun as childhood. So with that, I'm going to uncover how remaining a kid at heart keeps us creative, keeps us light, and like I said, it keeps us in our happiest state because the happiest adults are usually the ones who never stopped playing. So let's get right into it. So I do want to say, I think the best place to start with this podcast is when we start realizing that growing up gives us a lot of pressure. And it gives us a lot of pressure to kind of become a different version of who we initially learn to be. And I say that, but that kind of sounds really weird, but it gives us this first point in time of like middle school and high school where teachers are telling us, well, this isn't gonna fly in college, or you're in college and professors will say, well, this won't work in the real world. Or you have parents or family members telling you that, you've got to act a different way. You can't do certain hobbies or you can't do, the things that truly make you happy because you're an adult and you're a grown up now. And that just doesn't fly. I think that this is all a bunch of fluff because the more that you start to sit back and the more you start to just stare at your wall and go into these deep conversations with yourself, which is why I love doing this podcast, is it gives me an outlet to explore a little bit more in my mind. But the more you see that this is not the case. Who is the person that's telling us that we can do and we can't do certain things? It's ourselves. It's not really someone else, not really a parent, not really a boss. It's not really a teacher. It's ultimately ourselves that gives us the opportunity or the lack of opportunity to go out and make new podcasts or make new paintings or spend time with friends. It's ourselves that tell us no. And we've got to stop doing this. Another thing that you start to see is that now that we're in early adulthood, we're not just waking up and going to school, coming home, eating dinner and doing homework and going to bed. Like we do have somewhat adult responsibilities like navigating our career, or what's another thing, we're paying bills. This kind of gives us the illusion that, okay, we're adults now, we're doing adult-ish things, so we should probably start acting like our parents or our grandparents. And this is just another facade that we always put in front of ourselves to kind of mask what we really like doing. And I even fell victim to this. I kind of thought that, you have to pursue a certain image or you have to maintain a certain standard in your life in order to, progress in your career, have family members take you more seriously. But at the end of the day, I always say this, I'm the one that's laying my head on my pillow at night, and my mental sanity, my just current state of life is way more important to me. And I'm going to have to fulfill that the way I need to fulfill that versus what someone else in my family is telling me. Obviously, I'm not condoning inappropriate behavior, but I am saying that the hobbies like making podcasts, the hobbies like painting, the hobbies like going out for a hike, disconnecting in nature are things that we've got to keep doing in our early 20s in order to maintain this balance of life. And I'm not talking about work-life balance. I'm just talking about having balance of it's okay to pursue a really successful finance career, but it's also okay to slow down and give time back to yourself. And that's just because we always think maturity is about seriousness, but really it's more about how to balance work and wonder. And that leads me into my second section, and that's this importance of play in our early adulthood. And if there's anything that you take from this section, it's the fact that play is not childish. I think the thing that tells us no, the thing that gets us to say no to ourselves is we do have this childish label on things that really make us happy, when in reality, this is what helps us recharge. I was able to do some research and, kind of found out that those creative adults, those that embark on their hobbies, that do the things that they enjoy, oftentimes report a lot less stress. And more importantly, they've got better mental health. And in a world like today, stress and mental health are always at the top of mind for me. And I will second this. There are days where I have a terrible day in terms of maybe I didn't have a good workout, maybe I didn't get to work out, or maybe something happened with the family, or maybe it's something at work. And the thing that always grounds me is the hobbies, is making music, making podcasts, doing some watercolor paintings, just relaxing and watching Netflix. I'm not going to knock Netflix, but these activities that I really enjoy doing allow me to just get a little bit of control on my life. They allow me to rein in all the worry, all the context of everything that I've got to do, everything that is pressing on me. And it gives me a space to just relax. I mean, these are hobbies and these are activities that I truly do calm down in. I really do enjoy them. If you don't have these hobbies, if you don't have these activities, it's a great way to become a child at heart again. And also, don't you want to maintain your mental sanity? If not, I don't know what's wrong with you, but there is something wrong with you because we're always just so bombarded with notifications, with this happened, and the news everywhere. Give yourself a space to just chill, relax, calm down for even just 1 hour a day. It's just that if it makes you feel alive, it's most likely not just childish. It's what makes us human, and we've all just got to be okay with it. And this brings me, to my last point that I want to bring in this quick podcast today, and that's that fun doesn't have to have any form of expiration date. Like I said, I've been making audio, I've been doing video for the last 5 years or so, making audio the last 10, 15 years. And it's truly one of the things that, kind of grounds me in such a hectic society. And I'm never going to stop. I really do think I'm going to be 80 years old, making music, making podcasts, just creating in some way, shape, or form, because this is my outlet. This is the thing that allows me to get all the crazy wonders, all the crazy thoughts out of my mind, put them on here in the form of a podcast, put them in a song. I feel a lot more at home within myself. So we've just got to figure out a way, like I said, to kind of just bring joy back into adulthood, because you can still pay bills, chase financial goals, chase career goals, and still have fun. There's really no reason why it's either or. So I think the main question that you may have is like, how do we remain a kid at heart and still remain responsible with all our duties? The number one thing that you can do for yourself is just make time every week. Now, it is different for everyone, but I do think that for me, it's making podcasts, helping others write some music. For you, it could be cooking, it could be going out with friends, it could be spending time with parents or family. It's just whatever makes you the happiest. You just gotta give yourself an hour, 2 hours. I like to give myself one day. I call it Cole's Day, which is typically Saturday or Sunday, where I'm just doing everything that I want to do. And there's no ifs, ands, buts. No one's scheduling anything on Cole's Day. Another thing that you've got to do for yourself is come to the realization that your hobbies are unproductive. There have been so many times where I didn't want to make a podcast, or I didn't want to make music, or I didn't want to paint, or I didn't want to go spend time with friends because I was like, I've got 1,000 other things I need to do today, whether it be for work or whether it be for, home life, that's actually productive. This is the killer right here. Everything that you do is productive. It just may not have a tangible due date, or it may not have a tangible deliverable with it. If you're going to spend time with family because you're stressed out about work, that's productive. That's helping you recharge your mind, helping you recharge your battery to go show up at work again. If I want to make a podcast, and after I've been thinking constantly about all the hectic stuff in the world right now, it's productive. It is. Everything that we do, our hobbies, and everything but heck, you can even call doom scrolling productive if you're just so mentally drained from the world and you need a moment for yourself. So get out of the habit of calling it productive. All in all, I just want to say the older that I get, I do see that adulthood is not about losing joy. It's more just about like protecting it and making sure that we are the best version of ourselves. And this is especially true for early adulthood. There's so much change going on in our lives. There's so much change with relationships, whether they be romantic or friendships, family changes, work changes with our career. At the end of the day, we've got ourselves, and we can also be holding ourselves responsible for grounding, for relaxation, for making sure that we're practicing mental health. Because the world doesn't need more serious adults. It just needs more joyful people. That's all I've got for you today. I appreciate you for listening. I'll see you in the recap. All right. So I hope that you can see that in early adulthood and in adulthood, there's no reason for us to outgrow our happiness. If anything, you should grow into it more and become more of a kid at heart and continue to do the things that made you extremely joyful in your earlier years. For me, it was podcasting, it's music, it's cooking, it's hanging out with friends. Sometimes it's enjoying a nice Krispy Kreme donut warmed up in the microwave, nice and warm. It just depends on the day and how I feel. For you, it may be different, but the common variable is that we're both making time to ensure that we remain happy and in our best state of mind. I'll tie back to Halloween, like I mentioned in the intro, that there were a lot of adults, a lot of teenagers, a lot of mid-20-year-olds dressed up, full costume, trick-or-treating. We're never too old to have fun, and we've got to just keep this at the back of our mind. So, this week, if you haven't done so already, take some time to be a little childish. Enjoy what makes you joyful. And as always, I appreciate you for listening to another episode of Let's Talk Reality. I'm your host, Cole. If you have specific topics that you want me to talk about, feel free to drop them in the comment section below. We are on social media on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube at Let's Talk Reality Pod on Instagram and TikTok. And then on YouTube, I'm at LTR Pod. Just look for that red logo with those beautiful white letters. I will catch you next week as I'm dropping weekly episodes. Until then, peace out.